Guys, SolivaganTz made another very cool informative Trackmania video after he already made one about Trackmania's most precise trick, aka nosliding. He now made a small video where he explains Trackmania's most useful mechanic. And judging from the thumbnail, it is going to be about the gears of the Trackmania car, which is indeed something very important to learn. So let's see what SolivaganTz, who is obviously a really good player in this game, has to say about this. Of course, as always, guys, make sure to check out SolivaganTz. He is doing some really good YouTube content. And for the people watching the stream right now, here's also the link, so you can watch it yourself later, or maybe save it in your favorites. Maybe you can learn something. Well, let's see what SolivaganTz has to say about Trackmania gears.
Alright. In this video, I'm gonna talk about everything there is to know about gears within Trackmania.
Okay.
Gears affect every single surface in the game, but the most important surface to learn gears on is dirt, grass, and plastic. And by the end of this
ice,
video,
to be honest, and ice as well, not gonna lie.
You will have learned everything there is from the basics all the way up to what it takes to get a world record. I'm gonna try and make everything I talk about as clear and concise as possible as I can.
Okay.
So that players can see the small details that goes into driving fast that isn't as easy to understand.
Let's see if I will even be able to add something to this. I hope I can. Otherwise, it's gonna be like lazy-ass reaction.
Why are gears so important? And why do I claim this mechanic to be the most useful mechanic to learn in the game? In this clip, you will see me drive against a ghost.
Actually, halt, stop, because he didn't explain it. For the people that are completely clueless about Trackmania that are maybe watching this, the Trackmania car has an automatic transmission, so you have no manual gearing. But you can basically manipulate your gear changes, because the gear changes always happen at certain speeds. And he's going to talk about how you can use it to your advantage, but it's not about manual gearing, it's automatic transmission.
The ghost gets every single gear clean, while the driving you see I'm doing, I'm getting every single gear badly. And look at how much of a difference this makes. This is why gears are so important, because it's the biggest time loss you can get on any surface in the entire game. If you don't know how to...
like, besides crashing, of course, obviously.
Get gears clean, you're gonna lose a lot of time. So how do you play around gears? So to start off with, let's start with the basics. On top, you can see an input.
Also, I need to pause again, sorry guys, but for those of you that are wondering why the slowdown is even happening, basically with the Trackmania car, whenever you have a gear switch, your car is not accelerating. And when you steer while you gear, which is something he's gonna explain, the gear change basically just takes longer, meaning you don't accelerate for a longer amount of time, and that's why you slow down. That's like the theory behind that.
Input display, a gearbox, and an acceleration indicator. When you accelerate, your car will start gearing up. You have 4 gear ups, second, third, fourth, and fifth gear. The gear up speed number you see on screen is the speed you need to be able to gear up while driving in a straight line. And when you lose speed, you will start losing your gears. Here you can see a visual representation of what a bad gear looks like. When you get a good gear, the acceleration stops for a split second. But when you get a bad gear, your car will not only stop for a longer time, but also slow it down a little bit.
That's basically what I meant. Like when you steer when you gear, the acceleration stops longer. Yeah, you can clearly see it.
So to get a good gear, all you need is to straighten out your car right before a gear up. And that's it. But as you have probably noticed in this clip, the gear ups are happening with lower speed than I showed before. And this is when we get to optimizations and gear manipulation.
Yeah. Also for the previous thing, that's something you guys can always remember. There's like this famous saying which goes, don't steer while you gear. Like a, like a bit of a memory in your head. Never steer when you gear.
Gear manipulation is being able to control when to gear up, and I'll show you 6 ways to do so.
Okay, let's see if I know all of them.
I want to explain a little bit more in details what these boxes you can see on the top of the screen actually means. First, you have the box showing the gear number your car.
By the way, this is coming from the Open Planet Dashboard plugin. So if you're playing on console, you cannot have these plugins at all. There is another gear indicator on the back of your car, but you can basically not see it at all. Thank you, Nadeo. So if you're playing on console, you will basically have to adjust, or like you need to notice it with the engine sound. So basically when your engine is like screaming when it's high in the revs, then you know that your car is about to gear. This is how pro players play as well. Like people don't look at the gear overlay, but it's like the gear overlay, if you're a PC player, is very good to learn the gears and to get a feeling for that.
Then next to that, you have the gearbox itself. This shows how close your car is to gearing up or gearing down. If the gearbox shows orange, then you're close to gearing down. If it's red, then you're very close to gearing up, and if it's green, then you're in the safe zone. This gearbox works very close with the last thing here on the right side. This right here is the acceleration
What is this even?
indicator.
I don't even notice.
And to explain it in the simplest terms, the higher the number or the more green it is, the faster you're gonna be filling up your gearbox, which makes your car able to reach the gear up.
I've never seen this overlay, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
This is the same for the red side, but the other way around. The more red it is, the faster you're losing your gearbox, and eventually you're gonna gear down. You might think, well, of course, going faster makes you gear faster.
Guys, I know it's in dashboard, but I don't know. I've never seen anyone actually using it. That's what I mean.
But it's not quite that simple. The gearbox represents not your raw speed, but your RPM. Gear manipulation is about adjusting your RPM to make you gear up on the speed and the turns that are most beneficial for you. These 6 methods I'm going to show you are essentially the tools you can use to manipulate your RPM to optimize maps more. First up is releasing. Throughout these examples, I want you to pay attention to the gearbox and acceleration indicator. This footage looks very simple and very basic, because it kinda is.
Yes.
But optimizing a well-timed release is not always as easy as it seems. Also, something to note, releasing is actually worse than braking in terms of holding a gear. And I'll give some examples later to show you what I mean.
That's true. But this is like, this looked out now maybe a little bit off, but this is like, for example, imagine you have a normal map and you have a dirt turn. And you would gear switch from 3rd to 4th gear in the dirt turn. And you don't want to steer while you gear, obviously. So you, for example, can release in the corner to then just go through it normally with 3rd gear and then only gear up afterwards. This would be like a real life example to make it a bit more clear.
Next is braking. This should also be kind of obvious, since that if you brake, you lose speed. But again, later on, I'll show you the difference between braking and releasing in terms of holding a gear.
Yeah, if you're, for example, in a drift, like, that's... okay, wait, I'm gonna explain that later.
Is when it starts to get interesting and difficult.
But I can say something about that as well.
When you speed slide, you will accelerate faster. The better your SD, the earlier you can get the gear up. Here, I'll slow it down and show the speed difference I have between speed sliding and going straight. This is only done with 4th and 5th gear, since you can't SD well in lower gears.
Yep. Yeah, basically when you slide with your car over slidey surfaces, the gear changes just happen earlier at lower speeds, basically. So you see it with a speed slide. When he's sliding, he's gearing at like 223. When he's going straight at 235. So sometimes it's also helpful to slide on purpose on certain maps. Like, this goes very much into detail now, but to gear earlier.
You can see that
pretty interesting, actually. I don't think many people know that.
How early you can force a gear up. I actually didn't know it was by this much until I started on this video. Nosliding is pretty similar to speed sliding. The difference is that you can force an early gear on all the gears. And it's also one of the reasons that nosliding is such a fast trick. It gives you so much control over your car. So speed sliding and nosliding are the 2 ways to force your car to gear up earlier. This is useful on a lot of maps, but it's not always useful. Sometimes the best lines are to not gear up.
Wait, let's pay attention. Gear 2, straight, speed slide, no slide. Yeah, straight and speed slide is the same. No slide, yeah, he said it already. No slide, you always gear up earlier, and speed slide only. The thing is, like, the reason why that is that speed sliding is not a thing. At 101 speed, when you slide, you don't speed slide, you just slide. Like, speed slide, it's only called when you actually gain speed with that. And that is, yeah. I honestly thought it's at the end of Gear 3 as well. Like, I thought when you're high in the revs for Gear 3 and you gear change to Gear 4. No, wait. Never mind. Yeah, you see it. So basically, from Gear 1 to 2, it's the same. Gear 2 to 3, it's also the same. But then starting from late Gear 3, speed sliding makes you faster. So you also gear up earlier. I read the graphic wrong. Sorry, guys. Don't write a YouTube comment, please. Yeah, 3 to 4 is when it's worth it for speed sliding. But no sliding can be faster on Gear 1 and 2 as well. It always depends on the turn and the angle and everything you have, but yeah.
Thing to feel sometimes. But essentially what you need to know is that if you slide sharp enough, you will lose speed and eventually lose the gear. If you look at the acceleration indicator, you will see that it's kind of like a scale. You want to max out your speed without gearing. Getting a gear while oversliding is one of the biggest time losses you can get in the game.
True.
Next,
right after bad plastic bounces, guys. right after bad plastic wall. But I mean, it makes sense. Like when you slide on a slidey surface, your car is slowing down, which is why you always want to minimize steering on those. And if you steer too much, you will get too much of a slowdown, and at some point you will lose the gear.
And the last one is air pockets.
What the fuck are air pockets?
And very different from the others. Getting air pockets means getting a small amount of airtime with or without still touching the ground. This will bounce around your acceleration indicator, effectively resetting your gearbox and helping to stay in a lower gear. This sounds very niche, but it is surprisingly used quite a lot.
Interesting. I mean, I know about this kinda, but like that's indeed very niche, isn't it?
Alright, now I'll mention two pretty niche things about gears. First one is kinda useful.
Okay, do I know them?
And it is about braking versus releasing.
Okay, now I can quickly talk about it as well. When you are low in the revs of a gear, let's say you are in gear 5, but you are very, very low in the revs, like you're about to drop down to 4th gear, braking is better than releasing. Like when you brake, it's easier to stay in a gear than when you release. For example, let's say you have a speed tech map and you need to slide in gear 5. And there's like a drift where when you have a really good line, you can barely stay in 5th gear. You don't want to release there to get around, for example. You want to always brake. Like you don't want to release your accelerator. So releasing makes you gear drop way earlier than braking. That's what I learned as well on some competitive maps, for example.
To holding gears. Here you can see I'm doing a small brake tap where I hold 4th gear. But when I do the same thing with releasing, I lose the gear.
Yeah.
The timing is a couple frames off, but that doesn't really matter, as you will see soon. Now let's watch these two clips side by side in slow motion and see how much of a difference that's actually happening just by doing a release tap rather than a brake tap.
There's not much of a difference though.
You can see that I have lower speed, but I still have a green bar on my gearbox.
Yeah.
And
like releasing, like the accelerator just influences your RPM more, you could say. Like with brake, your RPM, you might be slower, but your RPM are staying more at the same level. While with releasing, you're maybe faster, but the RPM is just influenced more. And that's in the ending what influences the gear.
The video over to when the release tab loses the gear. You can see that I'm actually having less speed on brake tap, but I'm still keeping the gear.
Quicker release tab would keep gear, I mean, possibly. But really, it's easier. Like it's very maybe not even that useful for hunting necessarily. But when you have to be like consistent on competitive maps and something, this kind of stuff is actually pretty important. And I'm pretty sure there's also really good Trackmania players that don't know about this.
Same line. Here I'm zooming out just so you can see through the editor trails that the two lines are basically the exact same line. But just because I did a brake tap, I'm able to hold the gear rather than lose it. Next is fake gears. When you gear up, you get a gear sound, and you can hear through just the game without any feedback if it's a good or a bad gear.
That's true.
So here I'm gonna play what it sounds like for every one of them.
Dude, so the bad gear change will sound like so horrible. Like this is like one of the most unsatisfying things in the game for good Trackmania players when you have a bad gear change. It's like the engine is just screaming for help, and you wanna help, but you fucked it up yourself.
Yeah, listen to the good gear.
You will hear it. Just quick, fast ping.
Here is the bad gear.
And now here, Achtung. You see how like it's like, and usually it's like, you know what I mean? Like the gear change just takes longer. You can literally hear the engine sound thing taking longer. And as I explained to you guys earlier, the longer a gear change, the worse it is basically.
But it doesn't punish you.
Stop. I move forward.
Bad gear, but it doesn't punish. Now here is the fake gear. Fake gear is gonna sound like the bad gear, but it doesn't punish you.
Good gear, but sounds bad. Okay, I'm not sure what he means.
You only get fake gears when getting air.
But he didn't.
You only get.
Wait, what is happening here? He's not changing gear though. It's just because he is. Isn't it just because he was about to switch into 5th gear? Like he's like extremely high in the revs of gear 4. Like he's basically in the limbus between 4th and 5th gear, but the gear change didn't fully happen yet.
You
Good gear, but sounds bad. Yeah, I mean, you didn't really get... Yeah, okay.
Only get fake gears when getting airborne and landing again. But here, listen again when I play them back to back.
Satisfying. Unsatisfying.
The way to know if it's a fake gear or bad gear is just that if you go airborne and you get this sound cue, and if you don't lose any speed, then it's a fake gear.
Yeah, it's like when, because of high RPM in the air, and then when you land, you lose a little bit of speed, and the gearbox basically just resets, you know? I mean, I understand, like, that's exactly what he said, I just didn't really understand it. But I explained it for myself, basically.
All the things that I've shown so far, I'm gonna show 3 map examples of a combination of gear management to get some really good times on some maps.
Checking.
In this section, I can get the 4th gear, I'm fast enough, but I want to stay in 3rd gear because the noslide after is going to be faster when I stay in the lower gear and I can just full send it rather than having to play it safe and be cautious when I get the 4th gear. And the things that is done to keep 3rd gear is that when I'm leaving the banking, I'm getting a small airtime. And in this airtime, I'm doing a small release, anticipation for the landing I'm going to get, where I'm going to have a speed slide. I then, by hitting the corner of this 3rd block, get airtime again. This is going to prevent me from gearing up at a bad time, and as soon as I land back on the ground, I'm going to land in an overslide, making it impossible for me to gear up, and then making the rest of the turn possible to just full send in the 3rd gear. And
the thing is, it sounds so simple, but doing all of these things on purpose is crazy. Like when I hunted this map for Champion Medal, I just went for upper gear. I was just like, fuck this.
Finish off the map by then.
Like it's maybe also something important to mention. Like doing it to, like, it's a very important trick in the game, and you should learn what the basics are, but maximizing it to the absolute maximum is like, very expert kind of thing.
That I have preserved, and then set up for the noslide in the ending, and then get the 4th gear up at the top of the banking. Next one is a bit more simple, but still hard to execute. What you're aiming for is to be able to control when you're gonna get the 5th gear up, and then when you get it, you're gonna get it clean. And to get the gear clean and drive this section fast, you wanna land in a speed slide and speed slide all the way to the edge. I am now maxed out on my gearbox, as you can see by the red bar, but to fully optimize this line, I am still having one wheel on the ground, because this is going to reset my gearbox, as you can see here. I am now in a good position and can climb over the rest of the block with a right turn, and then land in a speed slide again and get a really early gear up on the landing, and then speed slide on 5th gear.
And he's not sliding in the landing, obviously.
And now
I really wonder, quick pause, I really wonder if he like thinks about this all the way, because I'm not someone who really hunts maps that much, like not campaign maps. I'm just playing maps and I just feel what I have to do, and I don't, like, my brain is not working the way his brain works. I'm not paying so much attention about it. I just do everything by feeling. And I wonder if he plays the maps like this as well and just tries to explain it now, or if he's actually on a new map like this and thinks about all of these things in such high detail. Would actually be interesting to know.
Section out of the 3.
Yeah, as SolivaganTz says, at some point it's just muscle memory.
I'm going from 4th to 3rd gear, and then I want to go back up to 4th as early as possible again. I'm doing this with a noslide and getting the gear up at 226 speed, so I can now speed slide as early as possible. After this checkpoint, I don't want the 5th gear. I want to stay in 4th gear so I can just full send it. And to stay in 4th gear, I went from nosliding to driving straight.
He doesn't. He said in the stream he only really thought about it this much for this video. Yeah, like for really good, like it's good to learn this, to have it explained, but if you, at some point, if you really are gonna be good at this, you don't think about it this way. You just do everything by feeling.
My gear up speed at 342. This is why I'm now able to be at 339. But now, after getting a little bit of airtime, I now need to turn to the left. But by turning to the left, I'm essentially doing a speed slide, which is gonna put my gear up speed at a lower speed. So I'm doing a release tap until I get far enough to start oversliding to stay in the lower gear. And to finish off this section, I'm then doing a noslide on the banking of the dirt. You can see that I'm getting the gear up at 223 speed again, because I'm nosliding.
Yeah, so especially the noslide, of course. Like, I mean, for those of you who watch the other videos, you guys know the nosliding is also just like extremely difficult.
When you do nothing, aka driving straight, you're gonna get the latest possible gear up.
Yes.
When you're doing a noslide or a speed slide, you're gonna force the earliest possible gear up. And then all these things I've mentioned in these videos are ways to manipulate your gear to come at any desired moment between the fastest and the latest. And based on what turns, speed, blocks, maps, obstacles that you're surrounded by, then you have these methods to help you optimize maps more and play them well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very map dependent as well. Like, as I said, like on every map, it's different. And it's also like, what do you want to play? Like, if you play Cup of the Day and it's about being consistent, then it's obviously like, you don't need to take it that much into detail. As I said, it's just about feeling done and getting it kind of clean. But when you want to hunt a map, especially if it's like a short dirt map, like map 2 or 3 in the campaign, you do need to pay a little bit more attention to these kind of things.
You can come across. But it should help to explain the concept around gear manipulation and management. And if you encounter something I didn't mention, then you should be able to figure out how to do it still based on this foundational knowledge I've provided in this video. Hopefully. The point to my videos is not to learn you how to drive one map fast, but every map fast. And since there are endless possibilities of block combinations and unique interactions, I can't go through every single scenario since I myself haven't probably experienced every single scenario myself. But anyway, as always, I hope you learned something from the video, and yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, what a good video, man. Like, what a really good video. Like, the thing is, in Trackmania, there's this issue that nothing is ever explained to people. You don't have any in-game tutorials, and there's also barely any YouTube content on this. And I think SolivaganTz, with his 2 videos that he made, I mean, it's mainly about dirt driving and, like, plastic grass, is really helping out with that. Like, I think this might have been, like, a lot for people, but definitely save this video in your favorites. And if you ever struggle on a part like this, just watch through the video again, and you will probably get to see an answer to your problem, because this really explained it very well of what you have to exactly pay attention to be honest. It's very hard, but I mean, the basics with like not steering when you gear is something for beginners, and then the better you get at the game, the more you also learn how to gear manipulate, and eventually you also develop a feeling for that. So yeah, definitely make sure to watch SolivaganTz's video, follow him, check him out, SolivaganTz on YouTube. Also, small funny moment, guys. Femi commented with "No way, I learned so much," and he just answered with "Shut up, bro." Yeah, funny one, good one. I kind of XTD. But yeah, very helpful video, SolivaganTz. I think you definitely made the life for a lot of Trackmania players a little bit easier. So yeah, check out the video, guys. And for the people watching this reaction on YouTube, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something as well. Hope I also was able to contribute at least a little bit for that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you guys in another video. Bye bye!